I'd like to call the regular council meeting for the town of Bay-Westfield on Monday, September the 12th, 2022 to order at 7 o'clock p.m. We respectfully acknowledge that Bay-Westfield exists on the traditional Woolstookway land. The lands of Wabanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between equal nations. The river that runs by our town is known as Woolstook, along which live Woolstookway, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. We, the staff and elected representatives, pay respect to the elders, past and present, and descendants of this land. Good evening, everyone. I would like to take a moment to reflect on the passing of a person who has played an enormous role on the international stage over the past 7 decades that is unrivaled in its significance. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II led the Commonwealth with an absolutely incredible level of strength, grace, and integrity. Very few of us alive today can recall anyone else sitting on the British throne. There has only ever been a queen. We all mourn for the passing of this iconic monarch. Please join us now for a moment of silence in honor of the passing of Her Majesty. Thank you. If you would like to sign the official book of condolences, it will be available to the public at the town office until September the 19th. Office hours are Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I would also like to acknowledge and celebrate the beginning of a new school year. This past week marks the first time school has really been back as it was prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to thank all of the administrators, teachers, assistants, and support staff that are working hard to make for a safe and successful school year. I would also like to wish a wonderful, fun, and fruitful school year for all of our students. I hope you all have the best year ever. Item 4, record of attendance. Let the record reflect that all the council is in attendance today. Thank you, council. Item 5, agenda approval. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Bay-Westfield approve the agenda of September 12th, 2022 as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 6, disclosure of conflict of interest. Are there any? There being none. Item 7, public hearings, presentations, delegations, petitions. There being none, we'll move on to item 8, minutes of previous meeting. 8A, regular council minutes of August 15th, 2022. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Bay-Westfield adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of August 15th, 2022 as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Day. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 9, unfinished business. There being none. Item 10, bylaws, none. We'll move on to item 11, new business recommendations. 11A, fire department asset and record management. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Bay-Westfield authorize staff to enter into a service agreement with first due for the provision of a records management system with an annual cost of $10,960 with 2022 implementation cost of $2,500. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Day. Thank you, Councillor Bellmans. John, can you speak on the motion, please?
Your Worship, before I turn it over to the Chief, I'll just do a bit of an overview. Basically, we're looking at streamlining the system. Right now, a number of records, everything from training to our assets, are kept in a variety of documents and formats. And this is designed to consolidate everything and provide a way of also projecting. I'll let the Chief speak a little bit further to it.
Thank you. So yeah, it is really a lot about eliminating a lot of duplication. So right now, for example, when we have a new member join, their name and address goes in about 6 or 7 different places that also then need to constantly be updated. And so this will allow us basically to be the one-stop for everything. We've been looking for something like this for quite a while, and this is the first one we've demoed and looked at that actually covers everything and is very specific to the fire service and relates to the type of equipment we use, the way our personnel interacts with each other, and being cloud-based, one of the other advantages it has is that it's remotely accessible. So being in department, almost entirely volunteers, makes it a lot easier for the officers after the call. They can actually start to report right from the scene, or if they have something that they need to get home to, they can actually home, they can keep working on a report on their home computer or their phone. Whereas right now they actually have to come to the station to do that. So it'll make a big difference that way. And a lot of it will relate as well to our actual assets, our inventory, and ensure that we're tracking actually the proper life cycles for everything. All maintenance is done and recorded as it is. All of our training, all of this, like I said, most of this is happening now, especially with the assets and the tracking and the vehicle checks, equipment checks, and all of our training records. It's just about having it somewhere that's actually more usable than a bunch of spreadsheets.
Thank you, Chief. This is just a quick question for you. Is this something that was this a recommendation that came out of the most recent fire services review?
This particular software, no. There was discussions during kind of the information gathering phase about records management systems, including the one that we have now for just incident reporting. It has some options of expanding, but it's nowhere near quite to the level that this would do as far as providing benefit.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments on the item?
Just a comment, Your Worship. This town is blessed, the residents of this town are blessed with a very well-run fire department. With the volunteers that we have. 23 years ago, I had a fire in my house in the first 6 months that I lived here, and it took, I think, if I recall correctly, 4 minutes and 50-some seconds for the first truck to come from, I don't know if it came from Westfield to fire back then, or from Grand Bay, so it was just around amalgamation time. And then, less than 30 seconds later, another truck. I feel safe if this technology, after 23 years, can help improve the efficiency and help our operations of the fire department and our volunteers in full support.
Thank you, Councillor Malcolm. I'd like just to make a note too that it's not just the residents of Grand Bay-Westfield, but also the new residents of Entity 51, as well as our entire fire service area, which extends out into what will be the new Bundy Rural District. So.
A lot has changed in 23 years.
That's right, yeah, so this type of thing really does, you're right, impact a lot of people in a very positive way. So,
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried, thank you. Item 11B, DTI contract award. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield award the construction contract to Galbraith Construction as low bidder with a reduced scope of work to meet the original budget of $180,000 which includes engineering and contract administration by Dillon Consulting. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Bellman. John, can you speak to the motion, please?
Yes, Your Worship, yeah, the Works Commissioner will fill in any gaps that I might have. So last year we budgeted about $180,000 for the scope of work as originally defined. We got an estimate from our engineers, I think it was sometime over the summer, and their estimated price was $340,000. So we did a change in the scope at that time, and it still came in a little bit richer than what we wanted. So we reduced the scope again to ensure that we met the budget allowance that we had. And I'll let the Works Commissioner walk you through the scope as it currently stands and any other questions you might have.
Yeah, so again, this is part of the designated highway plan that the province has, and each year we had, previously it was a 5-year plan, but they changed to a 3-year plan now. But we did receive approval for a curb and storm sewer extension on Route 177, specifically Mariners Road. It would continue from Jordan Lane, where the curving ends there now, and continue north towards Ham. That was the original plan, which we asked for funding last year with last year's dollars. Tendering and pricing this year has gone way up and skyrocketing, so we need to turn it back so we can meet our budget requirements. So that's what's happening there. So we're turning the scope back. So we'll go up just towards Buffalo Road, stop there as far as our funds will go. And then next year we received approval for next year to have some designated highway funding. We'll take that funding and continue on as far as that process will lead to extend the current storm sewer on the east side of the Narrows.
Thank you, Bruce. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the motion? I just want to highlight the incredible impact that inflation is having on municipal operations for a project that was initially budgeted by the engineers at $180,000 to come in at almost double that. That is an incredibly negative impact, and what we are able to provide as far as service goes, and what we are able to move forward in terms of works. We have to stay within our budget in that regard. So that's a big impact, and we will be seeing that in all of the works projects going forward, unless inflation is tamed a little bit more and prices go back down to normal. So I know that we were talking about asphalt prices not that long ago, John. What were they a year ago compared to now by the ton?
I don't remember the per ton. All I remember is 40% increase.
40% increase.
So
yeah, so
it's a lot.
Yeah, it is, and so the DTI through the designated highway program pays a certain percentage, but then the town is responsible for their percentage as well. So
Yeah, and if the prices go up, then and there's a price gap, then the town is responsible for the difference.
and, yeah, so this is something that hopefully will not continue into the long-term future, but it is something that we will be dealing with certainly for the near term. Any other questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Item 12, bills for payment. 12A, that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield authorize September 12th, 2022 bills for payment as presented in the amount for $433,308.68. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Do I have a second? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor McIntosh Lawrence?
I just have a quick one, just for people watching, I'm just for number 50 and 51, just wondering which fences those were that were fixed.
So those were 4 fences. The Lions Lower Field, the dog park, and at the tennis courts. And then the last one finally was for repairs at the Tailwood Park.
Yes, Your Worship. Item 33, $748 for security checks. Just want clarification. Is this CHECK, a bank CHECK, or is it actually a visual stoppage and investigation at a place of an asset of the town?
These are checks. that we write out.
Oh, write out checks, okay.
Yeah, and so this is about 1,000 checks. And we're hoping that we'll be doing everything through electronic transfer well before these have used them up, and that's the last purchase for quite some time.
In a former job that I had on board, we had winter security checks of our assets, and I was just wondering which. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Councillor Balcom, I can see where you'd be confused because I use the CHEQUE spelling for
Yes.
checks, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
And item 41, Your Worship, I can do one more. Four Seasons Sports Limited, $50,000 change for pavement markings. What type of markings is this? Is this marking some center line after new pavement has been put down? Is it bike lane markings? Is it crosswalk markings, or a combination of all?
This is everything. And mind you, having said that, for all the markings, it includes the designated highway.
Yes.
And the province has paid us almost $11,000 to do their share. So that includes Inglewood, the bike share lane,
Yes.
crosswalks, everything.
Like parking lots, so.
And I can only assume that the price of paint has gone way up as well.
Well, and then also just getting hold of paint is challenging. I don't know if council remembers, we had an issue getting paint last year as well.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Do we have any other questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, council. Item 13, consent agenda. 13A, email, Food Inc. welcoming week events. B, email, UNBSJ Seawolves football 2022 schedule. C, invitation, dedication to service ceremony, the Canadian Coast Guard. D, PAC minutes, August 2nd meeting. E, MAD 2022 vigil invitation. F, letter, Royal United Services Institute of New Brunswick Inc. End consent agenda. The motion is that the Council of the Town of Grand Bay-Westfield receive and file the consent agenda items for September 12th, 2022. Thank you, Councillor Day. Do I have a second? Deputy Mayor Toole, thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 14, council reports, my favorite part of the night. Councillor Day.
Well, I don't really have much to report. I was getting home from an 8-week trip, and when I get my head wrapped with being home, I'll share with you what I've got to see that we might consider future work as we go. And I encourage, whether you're a monarchist or not, to watch some of the media and the funeral of our Queen. This is a time in history that none of us around this table have seen before. Because I'm thinking I'm one of the oldest ones. And Her Majesty was crowned 2 years before I almost gave something away. But anyways, it's a time in history, and it's something that I think people should really take a look at. And when you do get to this kind of age, you can look back and reflect that you've seen a man walk on the moon, and you've seen Her Majesty the Queen in visitations and other members of the royal family, and you've lived through a pandemic that most of us had never even heard of until we got there. And so this is a moment in time. And I don't know what it is about September, but we've just celebrated Diana, Princess of Wales, her death, 25 years. And I'll never forget watching the plane go into the Tower of New York and thinking it was an ad for a movie with special effects, only to find out it was reality. And again, these are all moments in time. So I encourage people to take time this weekend and whatnot to look at the protocols, because it's a very precise time. And Her Majesty took part in writing her funeral. And if you saw Prince Philip's, it's all done on protocol. And today she moved from the Palace of Holyrood to St. Giles Cathedral. And all you could hear on the cobblestones as the hearse was going down the street was the steps of the soldiers and her honor guard. And people were being very respectful. And on the final note, we have a new king. And God save the king.
Thank you, Councillor Day, for those words. Councillor McIntosh Lawrence.
Kind of hard to follow.
Sorry.
So I had the privilege of attending a dinner and a lunch with the sculptors, like I think the rest of us rented.
Their works are incredible.
Yeah, so we had a dinner here in Bay-Westfield for them, and we hosted a lunch at the location that they were working. So that was an honor for me to see them working on their sculptures, and knowing that one of them is coming this week to Bay-Westfield and is going to live at the Peace Park. So I encourage everyone to get out and go down and have a look at that. And I also participated in our yearly strategic plan with the rest of council. And other than that, I've been working with the Community Vitality Committee to plan our Fall Fest coming up in a few weeks.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. Deputy Mayor Toole.
Like Councillor McIntosh Lawrence, one of the highlights of the last few weeks has been being able to see the sculptors and the sculptures on the waterfront. And I was able to participate in the lunch at the waterfront, which Brandon catered for years, which was really, really pleasant for everyone. And also the strategic planning session with most of us here, which was great. I also had the ability to work with the Regional Facilities Commission, which is a standing commission which helps information about all the regions. And I was able to do the remarks from the town for the final summer stage event on Wednesday night. So, and again, a thank you to everybody who attended, everybody who performed. This was a really successful summer season and for that event. And I guess the last one, we were able to attend a meet and greet that was with the mayor and with Councillor Malcolm as well, with the Premier Cabinet and Caucus. Last week, we performed, sure, in St. John. It was a great opportunity to be able to network with members of the provincial government and also with different councillors and mayors from across the region. So that was a great one. It's been, I think I've seen a lot more in the last few weeks. Strange enough being summer of all of us here and other mayors and councillors from across the region. So it's been nice. It's been a lot of networking and
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Toole. Councillor Malcolm.
I've been striking up your worship all the time. In addition to the two sculpture events, I had the occasion to twice visit on my own when I was in the city. Throughout the day, just the car just took me there and spent 10 or 15 minutes. It was really nice. The weather was nice as well. So it's a wonderful event. I'm looking so forward to when our sculpture is delivered. I also attended two summer stage music events, one at Unity Park and one at Greenwich Point because of the bad weather. Great call again. New time decision was made. The weather is bad to move it inside, which is a great thing to do. I attended the Thursday markets a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. Attended the priorities session the council had on August 31st. Along with Councillor McIntosh Lawrence, I hopefully represented well the town at the St. John Region Annual Chamber of Commerce. I don't think Councillor McIntosh Lawrence will drive with me in our car to the market. Anyway, we had fun, but more importantly, we networked with a number of people, and one of the people who were in our foursome was the acting CEO of this good chance to talk, learn, and I had a piece last Tuesday. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Bell.
Well, we had we had a fundraiser back July 16th, and we found out results yesterday. We made $42,000 in money for the programs.
Awesome, congratulations.
So,
Yeah, that's a big one, thank
Big
you.
result.
And you were at a lot of those other things too. You were at the Sculpture St. John, supporting the artists, and
That's all
you've
been
been doing,
processed.
you've been around, so thank you for all the work that you do, Councillor. I want to thank all of council for all of the work that they do in representing the people and serving the people. Sometimes it's not easy, you know, I know it's basically a volunteer position. When you look at, you know, all of the work that you put into it, and I really do appreciate the passion and the work that you put into everything. I really want to thank you too for, you know, stepping up and introducing all of the acts at Summer Stage. And when public speaking isn't always the easiest or the most fun thing to do, but you really did that. That's great. And I actually want to thank staff for booking all those amazing acts at Summer Stage. I've heard nothing but great things about the musical choices all summer long. So thank you, Steph. Yes.
Your worship, specifically, you should thank the students.
Okay. All right. Our summer students have always been stellar, and apparently that tradition has continued this summer as well. So I would like to specifically thank the students for that. So as Councillor Balcon mentioned, I was busy crossing off all the stuff that everybody else was mentioning, because I was at a lot of those things too. You know, Sculpture St. John obviously was an absolutely stellar event for our region. You know, it's the fifth and final iteration of it here in the Greater St. John region. And hopefully maybe another one of the Tri-Cities will take it on. I've heard rumors that Moncton might be picking it up in the future, which would be lovely for the province. But, you know, I want to thank Diana Alexander and her team for pulling this off in a difficult time, in a very truncated timeline as well. And the idea that we're going to be the only municipality, as far as I know, with all 5 sculptures from the entire symposium series is really amazing. So very excited to see that installed when the time comes, and we will have just a beautiful series of public art from the symposium. I've been busy attending events and seeing people all over the month. One of the things that I wanted to highlight was I went to the Elizabeth Fry Society barbecue, I think it was almost a month ago now, and that's important. It was a fundraising barbecue for women who have experienced the justice system and who are trying to expunge their record. It's very onerous for you to try and get your criminal record pardoned. So one of the advocacy roles that eFry plays is to try and reduce the red tape and the cost associated with having that done, and also to try and support these women financially that are trying to clean their record. So that was really important, and I happened to run into Public Safety Minister Hogan while I was there. So that was a good connection to make as well. I attended the Approved United Colors of Fashion event at the Imperial Theatre, which is important because it highlights the contributions of people from all over the world that live in our region to the fashion industry in terms of the type of fashion, the type of textiles, and just the general artistry of that industry in St. John and around. So that was really good. Here in Bay-Westfield, I went to the BGC River Valley Youth Center in Entrepreneurship Fair, which was one of my favorite things to have attended in the last few weeks. So the BGC RVY River Valley Youth Center has an entrepreneurship program where the kids produce products, and so they set up in the parking lot of the RVCC, and they promoted them, they sold them, and it was really great to see the leadership and the ingenuity and the innovation in this group of up and coming kids that live right here in Bay-Westfield. So that was really, really great. Another fun thing I got to do was welcome the new Sea Dogs team to our region. So I joined some of the other regional mayors as the new team, and it's the team's gonna get smaller, so it's, there's a group of about 34 that's gonna go down to about 24, but we're all new, and some of them live in Grand Bay-Westfield. 2 of them right now are living with Councillor McIntosh Lawrence. But it was great to let them know that, you know, it's, the region includes all kinds of municipalities, make sure that they're aware and that they're representing us as well, and it was, and let them know that they're welcome. So I really enjoyed that. When it comes down to the more work-related stuff, it's been all about local governance reform, strategic plan review, and preparation for budget. There's been a lot of meetings with respect to the Fundy Regional Service Commission in terms of the new mandates, the budget associated with that, the negotiations around how those mandates are going to be funded. That work is ongoing and will continue over the next month at least. There's been some advocacy work done with respect to the rework of the equalization formula for municipalities. So I've represented the town on the provincial level for that, to make sure that the expert panel hears our position on equalization, which is absolutely key. As we're all aware, we lost half of our equalization funding this past year, and we're at risk to lose even more. So having a voice at that table was really, really very important. As everybody else has mentioned, strategic plan review to make sure that our strategic plan that we struck last year is still relevant. Do we need to pivot? Do we need to make any changes? Does it still reflect where we are and where we want to go? So that was a full day of work, and that work continues. I call municipal geek stuff. I started my work with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities standing committee meetings last week, and continues this week. And again, it just gives us a municipal voice, in particular Grand Bay-Westfield's voice on the national stage, which is important. So lots more work coming up. I have regional mayors meeting tomorrow, and we'll be meeting with Port CEO and with representatives from NB Southern to discuss rail and port expansion, and it's just off to the races. So that's my council report tonight, and thank you everybody for listening to me rattle on. So that means we move on to item 15, which is business arising from committee of the whole. There being none, we will move on to item 16, which is adjournment. And the motion is that the council of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield adjourn the meeting at 7:32 p.m. Do I have a motion? Councillor Bellman? Thank you. Councillor Belcom, second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, chair reminded. Motion is carried. Thank you, council.